Sometimes when you're solving quadratic equations, you get imaginary solutions. These come about when the radical is negative. You can't take the square root of a negative number and get a real answer, but you can get an imaginary answer. So this is just starting just with some kind of answer that needs to be simplified. I'm not going to show you the quadratic formula again, but let's say you use the quadratic formula and you ended up with this. You can't divide it yet because there's nothing outside of the radical, and you can't divide within the radicals, so you have to simplify this first. And so we have 10 plus or minus all over the square root of 30, and we have to figure out what goes here. Because the square root of -1 equals I, we already know that there's going to be an I on the outside of this radical when we simplify it. And then 20, the factors of 20 are 4 times 5. And you always want to pick the perfect square numbers. Numbers like 4 or 9 or 16. Anything that is a perfect square. 36 would be one. Now the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to say the square root of 4 is 2 and bring that out. So I have 2i square root of 5 divided by 30. Now from here, I just do what I did like in my last example, and I divide all of these by the greatest factor that I can. They can all be divided by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. So my answer is going to be 5 plus or minus 1i square root of 5 divided by 15. And so that's how you deal with imaginary roots and simplifying quadratic equations.